Warning. This review may contain material that may be offensive to some people. It involves all the stuff good, demonic games are made of. Blood. Lots and lots of it. So if you get offended easily, you may want to turn this review off. Go watch my review of Caveman games. Sure, there's cursing, but there's no gore or pentagrams anywhere. I promise. Oh, and if you get scared easily, you may want to turn this off too. There's a lot of dark corners. You never know what's going to creep out of them. You gonna keep watching? Fine. Turn off your lights. Make this full screen. And crank up the volume. Alright, there. I got my obligatory disclaimer over. When it comes to the first-person genre, it almost always gets traced back to Wolfenstein 3D. Of course, not to stop there, a few years later, it released the highly acclaimed and also controversial Doom. It had everything parents hated at the time, and everything kids loved. Dark, creepy atmosphere, evil demons, big guns, and of course, to top it off, the gore. Whether it be using the shotgun to blast apart imps or the BFG to decimate everything in your path, this game was just plain bloody fun, no pun intended. It then spawned a sequel, Doom 2, which only contained one new weapon, a double-barreled shotgun, but 32 new levels and almost a dozen new monsters? It was worth it. Final Doom was also made available, which was really just official mods to the game that was released, and it only contained 64 new stages. It was fun, but it was all just plain Doom. When Doom 3 was announced, I couldn't believe it. I was a fan of the original games, and with the newer technology, I was excited to see what would happen. I even remember upgrading my video card in anticipation of the game. I remember picking up the game and, to my disappointment, found my current system's processor couldn't handle it. So I did what a self-proclaimed geek would do. Bought a new CPU. And then my dumbass did the unthinkable. I went to bring up the ZIF lever and broke it straight off the motherboard. The cursing subsided about 10 minutes later after I bought a new motherboard off of Newegg and put rest shipping on it. Eventually, I was able to actually play the game. Right from the start, I knew I was in for something special, and all because of the opening screen and theme song. The menu screen just shows Mars rotating slowly while clouds seem to be passing over it. But the theme song, to this day I still love listening to it. It starts off all dramatic and such, and then you get this really kick-ass heavy guitar riff inserted into it. Just friggin' awesome. Anyway, if you're not a gamer and you don't know the story, or if you are a gamer and just live under a rock for the past 15 years, here's the story of Doom. Hell invades Earth, or more accurately, Earth and Mars. See, it starts at Mars, then while you, the lonely Marines sent as security, blast demons there, Hell invades Earth and kills your poor pet bunny rabbit. Then you enter Hell itself to exact revenge. No, I'm serious. There's a scene where you're holding the head of your rabbit and also a shotgun. It's pretty cool looking, in a sadistic way. But after killing Hell Knights, Taco Demons, and Cyber Demons, a still shot of a bloody rabbit head shouldn't bother you in the least. So fast forward to Doom 3. If you played and completely understand the story of the original games, ignore them. This game starts it all over. You're a Marine once again, landing on the Mars base to pull a security detail. Your first report to your commander, who then sends you to what's commonly referred to as a dungeon, because of the lack of action and life down there. The purpose is to find a missing scientist. You find him, and then soon after he dies. Then, of course, he revives as a zombie, whom you promptly blast. See, as soon as you find him, a portal is open a few sectors away, inviting all sorts of nasty creatures to come feasting on tasty human flesh. You'll go through close to 30 levels blasting all sorts of demons. If you happen to play the original Doom, you'll recognize most of the monsters and guns, as most are just retextured and made with Murdy. And before I go any further, let me mention something. If you're a gamer, you must listen to me. If you're not, you can go ahead and ignore the next part. If you've never played the original Doom, what the hell are you waiting for? First off, Doom 3 BFG just released recently, so that way you can get in the full package. And if you don't have the cash to spend on it, the Ultimate Doom, which is the first game in all 4 episodes, is $10 in Steam. Go now. Go at it. Go. I said go! Okay, that's over with. Back to the game. Again, you'll recognize many of the demons that you'll encounter if you played any of the other Dooms. So you may be thinking, well, doesn't it feel redundant? The answer is no. Sure, you may feel like you've killed these monsters before, but the environment is much, much different this time around. It's not as pixely as the other games, naturally, so everything feels much more believable. Let me elaborate on that. The main portion of the game takes place on the Mars base. You don't get to fight on Earth at all. However, some of the final stages do take place in the caverns underneath Mars. You do spend a small amount of time on Mars' surface as well,
but this is limited. You know, nowhere and stuff. Anyway, while you run around the base shooting evil entities, you'll actually feel like it's a military base under siege. The labs have computers and other equipment laying all over the place. Lights will fail constantly, and the emergency lights are all over, giving the game a realistic feel. Some computers allow you to interact with them, such as clicking a backup button because the power is low. This doesn't do anything, but it's just a bit extra to give the game that extra mile. Plus, every area in the game is named. In the bottom left corner, next to your life, is the description of the room you're currently occupying. It must have taken quite a bit of time just going through and naming the hundreds of rooms you'll encounter. Another thing that contributes to the game's realistic environment is the graphics. In my opinion, they aged pretty well. Sure, the humans look a bit bulky, but overall I still think they look pretty damn good. But it's mainly the environments I'm looking at. It feels like you're running around a space station. The lighting makes the game feel right. Lights will flash. Emergency lights won't give you much to see, but will allow you to see where you're going, at least for the most part. Often though, you'll enter spots where there's so little light that you'll need your flashlight. The flashlight is often a sore spot to many gamers. Most people bitch that the flashlight should have been mounted onto your guns. When I first played the game, I agreed. On later playthroughs though, my opinion changed. Not having the flashlight attached makes the game feel a bit darker, which I'm sure id was aiming for. Having the flashlight clipped on your gun would have been dark corner. Let me look over there. However, in this game, the flashlight is used by pressing F, and it lowers whatever weapon you had out at the time. So if you have the flashlight out, exploring crevices, and something attacks you from behind, you need to either swap to a gun and fight in the dark, or bang on the demon's head with a flashlight. If this is a standard large mag light, those things can do some pretty nasty damage. So this is one of those areas players either love or hate. Me? I love it. I mentioned the enemies, so let me just harp on those a bit. As I said, a lot of the classic enemies return, such as the imps, cacodemons, hell knights, mancubuses, and revenants. Hell, those bastard archviles are back, and they do some pretty heavy damage with their fire attack. However, instead of reviving the dead creatures, they'll just spawn new ones. This is because when killed, the majority of the enemies, other than the zombies, disappear in what I'd assume to be a Fury Ash. But don't think there's no new enemies. Although the bosses, other than one, are new, there's a few new regular enemies. The small spiders are a pain in the ass because they'll attack in groups, and once they converge on you, you'll be getting dealt a lot of damage. There's a humpback-like creature that can teleport around a bit, and will just slash at you with its blade-like arms. There's also an annoying baby fly thing that hops around, swiping at you. And although I'd prefer not to give you any kind of spoilers, I will say that there are two bosses that can be tough and that are original. I won't spoil the other two for you though. The first boss you come across is the Spider Queen, which uses telekinesis to launch spiny egg sacs at you. I guess you can theorize that this boss is derived from the Spider Mastermind. I just used the chain gun to put her out of misery though. Near the end of the game, you fight two at the same time. Just use the BFG, it'll make everything easier. The other boss I'll touch on is a boss you actually fight in Hell. That's right, you enter Hell. Give me a second and I'll talk about that. This boss holds something called the Soul Cube, which is the ultimate weapon to take down demons. You have to destroy its Seekers, which are these little bug things flying around with lights. Shoot them down and the boss's core is exposed. Shoot the hell out of it with whatever you got, and the boss will die. Before I get on to Hell, let me explain the weapons. There's about a dozen that are available. Again, many of them are recycled, but fixed for modern times. You have the basic 12-shot pistol. You have a shotgun, which you'll be using a lot. You'll get your fists and flashlight. You get a machine gun, which is new to this series and has a 60-round clip. It doesn't do a ton of damage though. The chain gun is next, which does a massive amount of damage, but at the expense of a bit of recoil. If I remember correctly, you find the fun chainsaw next. You find out early on in the game that the chainsaw was accidentally shipped to Mars, and they have no idea where to put it, so you just find out they put it anywhere. You'll then find grenades, which is a new addition, but one that isn't entirely useful due to the difficulty of aiming your throws. Plasma gun's next, which packs a hell of a punch. Then you might find the rocket launcher, and then probably if you pay attention to the BFG. The BFG works a bit differently in this game. In the original Doom, you fire it, and it goes boom when it hits a solid object, blowing apart most things in its radius. In Doom 3, you hold down the trigger to power it up. You can hold it for max power to use the entire 4-unit magazine, which does the most damage, but also has the potential to damage you slightly in the blast. However, this damage is negligible compared to what happens if you overheat the gun. It blows up, killing you. Nice little catch, huh? Quick save. There's also an introduction video for the BFG that you can watch that warns you about that. You also have the Berserk power-up, which is only featured twice in the game. This allows you to be invulnerable and also lets you one-hit knock out enemies with your fists. Hells yes. The Soul Cube, when obtained, allows you to kill almost every enemy in one hit. In fact, it's the only way to kill the final boss. It's activated when you kill 5 of any creature. When thrown, it attacks whatever enemy you were aiming at, and it leeches its life to you. So if you're running extremely low in health, you can use the Soul Cube to regenerate it. It works wonders for Hell Knights and Archviles. Okay, relax. I'm going to talk about hell for a bit. By the way, are you offended yet? If you are, fuck off, I warned you. I'm not taking any responsibility for you pissing your pants for these dark and creepy scenes. Anyway, about 3/4 of the way in the game, you come up to a few teleporters that are in experimental tests. When you enter the main one, you get pulled into hell. Apparently, this one was calibrated by the main enemy of the game to allow his demons away into the base. When going through this main teleporter, you lose all of your weapons. Fortunately, there's a cache of them right at the beginning, although ammo will be scarce for a bit. Also, while in hell, you never get tired, so you can run around to your heart's content. I also enjoy the way that hell is conveyed. It feels like a dark, creepy place with demons all over, attempting to slay you and keep you there forever. Of course, you don't really want to do that, but there's a lot of fire and brimstone stuff, although, sadly, you never get to see Satan. It would have been interesting to see its take on that. Earlier I mentioned that the game has some computers you can interact with. This is something you want to take advantage of. A lot of times, you'll find storage cabinets that are locked, and to open them you need to interact with the screen to punch in a key code. How do you get that key code? You pick up PDAs that are scattered around the base. In addition to giving you a bit of backstory to the game, and the occasional security clearance upgrade, the PDAs often contain emails or audio logs that give you the codes to these cabinets, or occasionally locked doors. Did I scare you? Come on, be honest. It's Halloween after all, and I needed to do something. Special thanks to Cabal for his involvement in this review. I'll give you a minute so you can change your pants. You know, nah, screw that. I'll just keep going. You can just sit there in your own feces. Anyway, you can always open those lockers, because they always contain armor, health, or ammunition. In addition to the storage lockers, there's also times where you need to use monitors to complete puzzles. Like this one here where you need to use a crane arm to dispose of toxic waste to enter a room. It provides a brief rest from the action, but it's still something different, if only for a minute. For the most part, the game is pretty linear. This changes a bit once you hit the Delta Labs, which are right before the Hell portals. You often have to run around with little direction on where to go. There's no map in the game, so you'll be doing a bit of exploring. Don't fret too much though, because the stages won't allow you to backtrack the previous ones, so you're not going to be wasting a ton of time going through each level. Once you do finish the final Delta Lab stage after Hell, you're probably starting to wonder how much longer you have in the game. It drags on quite a bit, but it doesn't feel like it's overdone. Just when you think you're getting sick of a certain area, you're introduced to some other sector of the facility, whether it be a new laboratory, or the caverns used for mining ancient artifacts. Finally, there are a few Easter eggs in the game as well. Although I don't know them all, there's 2 I remember. One is that there's an arcade game by Nabcom called Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3. If you sit there for about 15 minutes and get a score of 25,000, you get an email sent to your PDA. It basically mocks you for wasting time, and as such, HR is docking you 2 days vacation. Ouch! The second is in the final stage of the game, where you can find a brick with the id logo on it. Push it to reveal a PDA sitting on the stone slab. Pick it up, and it'll show that it belongs to the id staff. This PDA just contains thank you emails from the staff. Thank you for your support and dedication to playing through the game. How nice. So what do I think about Doom 3? I love it. It's a great, updated take on the older games, but it still gives you a nostalgia kick at the same time. The graphics look great, even to this day. I know many people won't agree with me on that statement, but I don't give a shit. The gameplay is smooth and solid, and the ambience of the game just doesn't let you down. If you like FPS games, I'd recommend it. It won't scare you as much as games such as Fear, the original one, but maybe it will. Final score? 9 out of 10. This is Reaper. As always, happy fragging, and have a happy and safe holiday.